slide. So in causal analysis, in this webinar today, we're going to do three things. We've got some basics to talk about, the most popular causal analysis techniques as sort of voted for by the great national, global, World Wide Web public. We're going to have a Q&A session about that, and in fact we can talk about anything you want to. And then I've got a sort of a deeper dive into looking at data for causal analysis and the kind of things that we might do depending on what data we've got access to. But I'll repeat that in a moment. So that's what we're going to do. So before we go any further, if you're new to hazard analysis, safety analysis, I just want to, with one picture, explain some basic terms. So the idea when we're doing safety analysis is we have hazards, and as the sort of bow tie diagram suggests, one hazard can have many causes and one hazard can have many consequences. So it can have a range of consequences. Now, some of those consequences will be harmless and some may result in harm to people, okay? And that progression from causes to hazard to consequences is known as an accident sequence, okay? So we're looking at the worst case scenario where somebody gets hurt. And it's not really important for today, but the test for a hazard is it's necessary for the accident. If there's no hazard, there's no accident, and it's enough. Once the hazard is present, nothing else weird or unusual needs to happen for the accident to occur, okay? So the hazard is necessary and sufficient. And I've mentioned about consequences. There are different consequences, but today we're talking about causes. So we're going to talk about analyzing that left-hand side, that's my left-hand side of the bow tie. So let's move on. So as I said before, what we're going to cover, we're going to look at the 8 most popular causal analysis tools, techniques, methods, call them whatever you want. I don't really care. Chosen by what people look for on the internet or on Google specifically. So I'm going to present some information about that. I'm going to make some commentary about that. And I say sometimes cynical. I look at some of these techniques and I think, yeah, there's not really much substance to this. But nevertheless, it's always worth looking at or incorporating into something else, let's say. And we're going to look at some resources that are out there. So then we're going to have a Q&A session. And while we're doing the Q&A session, I'm going to share some useful resources and links with you in the chat while you're thinking about your questions. And then in the third section, which I think is the most interesting, we're going to take a deeper dive into some data for causal analysis, just to illustrate some examples of what can be done, okay? And we're going to be looking at the European Maritime Safety Agency, or EMSA. We're going to be looking at one of their annual reports, which is really very, very good, an exemplar of how a regulator, in my view, should report.